Okay, we'll start with this. Set to go down this weekend on the undercard of Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington 2. We're going to see former champion Sandy Ryan make her bid to become a two-weight world champion opposite the ring seasoned veteran Carla Ramos Zamora, both 32 years old, for what is the newly vacated WBC World Super Lightweight title, the one that Katie Taylor vacated and subsequently Chantel Cameron vacated. Vacant WBC title that these two ladies are now fighting for. Chantel Cameron sports a professional record of 8 wins with 3 losses and 1 draw, 3 recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out in 12 professional bouts. With her descent to the super lightweight division, there is a legitimate argument that she basically chased Chantel Cameron out of the division all the way up to junior middle, where Chantel will next be fighting. Chantel didn't want to fight her. Carla does. Carla of Mexico sports a professional record of 12 wins with 10 losses and 2 draws, 4 knockouts, having been knocked out only once in 24 professional bouts. Last in action in August of last year, when she fought Bonnie Hunter and won a unanimous decision. Before that, she drew with Canada's Marie-Pierre Huel, and before that, she knocked out Argentina's own Erica Farias, a former champion, normally durable, but I guess not against Carla. The best way to describe Carla is a dangerous, albeit beatable fighter. She's dangerous if you don't have your eyes on the ball, but if you're focused, you can beat her because she's been beat 10 times before. Probably isn't a good idea for Sandy to get into a gunfight with Carla. I haven't seen the fighters side by side yet, but I think Sandy will be the noticeably taller, longer fighter in the fight. She would be wise to use that to her advantage. That doesn't mean she should run from Carla. That means she should box her up when she can and fight her off where she has to. Don't take this broad lightly. She knocked out Jessica Kimura. She knocked out Erica Farias. If you're not careful, she might knock you out. Don't take this broad lightly. Sandy Bryan, last in action in September of last year, opposite the ring of then unbeaten Jade Grierson, who she decisioned over 10 rounds, and before that, she dropped a decision to Michaela Mayer for the second time. Now back in the winner's bracket and pursuing another alphabet title at another weight, Sandy is dropping down from 147 down to 140, where Katie Taylor holds the other 3 alphabet titles. I don't view this as a segue to a Katie Taylor fight. Katie Taylor is approaching retirement. Then why go down there? Because when she's gone, the other 3 alphabet titles she currently holds will go vacant, and Sandy can pursue fights with what fighters end up picking up those newly vacated titles. Try to become undisputed. You could argue that the lightweight division, 135, just south of 140, is a more hotter and densely populated weight class, but you could also argue that at some point, all those girls at 135 are going to move up to 140, so Sandy wants to be undisputed by the time they do. That way, they don't have a choice but to fight her. Could be a while before the girls at lightweight move up to super lightweight, but in a while, Sandy could become undisputed champion if she plays her cards right. So there is functionality to moving down to 140. I think she's going to beat Carla. I think she's going to win a decision. I think she's going to become WBC super lightweight champion. In effect, a 2-weight world champion, because she was a champion at 147. I believe after this weekend, she will be a champion at 140. Sandy Ryan on points is the pick.
The issue is, partly to me, and we're going to transition to the fights themselves in a second, this idea that my dad was a boxing fan. My dad saw the WBC title. My dad saw the green belt raised up. He could tell you some of the great fighters of all time or whatever. There was a history here. We go, oh, we're getting away from that. Oh, yeah, but that's what I grew up my whole life watching. Like, MMA came in the United States. The UFC was a blank slate. They created the sport as far as most people are concerned.
Yeah, they wrote the book.
They wrote the book. Book on boxing was written 100 years ago. So this idea, we're getting away from that belt. Yeah, but I liked
it's going to take
watching Chavez raise that belt.
Generation of fans.
Right. It's going to take a whole generation to
get that out. If you can.
And we'll see.
There's a lot of talk about what's supposed to be the inaugural Zuffa belt and what reaction boxing fans are going to have to it. Will they ever accept yet another alphabet title? Zuffa's title, essentially. Is that even a legitimate world title? They literally made it up themselves. How do you legitimize a title like that? And we've been all through it. It's all about who holds the title, who that fighter is. If it were just some fighter that was brought up within Zuffa's ranks, inside of their bubble, then perhaps not. But if you look outward, if it were, say, a fighter who's already been a champion with the conventional 4 sanctioning bodies, the ones that everybody knows, that changes things. It changes things that what is already a legitimate champion would be holding the Zuffa belt, thus whoever beats him legitimizes themselves. So say Jai Opetaia goes in there with Brendan Glenton, and Brendan Glenton beats him for his IBF, for his Ring Magazine, for his lineal title. If he also wins the Zuffa belt, theoretically, that would legitimize him. That would legitimize the Zuffa belt. You think Brandon is gonna beat Jai? Fuck no. But the fact that Jai Opetaia is already ranked the consensus #1 cruiserweight in the world, if he adds the Zuffa belt to his collection, that helps to legitimize it until somebody can take it from him. And you know what also helps?
What?
Dissension among the ranks. That Terence Crawford and Shakur Stevenson have rebelled against the WBC's fees. Now 2024 filings expose WBA, WBC, WBO, and IBF raked in $19 million in total from sanctioning fees. This follows Bud's refusing excessive World Boxing Council sanctioning dues, got stripped, then Shakur vacating his lightweight title over $100,000 in fees for the Lopez fight.
The Lopez fight where the WBC title wasn't even on the line. What helps the Zuffa belt along is that boxing fans already don't have the best relationship with the sanctioning bodies, and neither do the boxers. Very recently, in protest of the WBC's hardline stance against 3-minute rounds in a women's boxing match, Amanda Serrano, Alicia Baumgartner, Chantel Cameron all dropped that belt.
They decided that fighting for 3-minute rounds was more important. Very recently, as stated, Shakur Stevenson and Terence Crawford dropped their WBC titles. There's a trend.
All of this happened in a short window of time, all these fighters dropping the green and gold title.
So what might help the Zuffa belt along is that boxing fans and the boxers themselves already don't have the best relationship with the sanctioning bodies. 2 in particular, it's really 2.
The WBC and the WBA. When you say that all 4 sanctioning bodies would have raked in an estimated $19 million in total, I imagine that most of that $19 million would have been split between the WBC and the WBA, it being that they have more titles in circulation than the other 2. More titles, more sanctioning fees.
Much to the chagrin of the boxing fans and the boxers themselves, who are growing tired of kicking out money out of their purses to these sanctioning bodies to do what? Want to charge Shakur Stevenson an estimated $100,000 or $120,000, whatever it was, and you talk about that amount of money like it's a small amount of money. That's a large amount of money to kick out for a belt that isn't even on the line.
It's a lot.
I think the World Boxing Council, more than the other 3 sanctioning bodies, has a penchant for crossing the line, for overstating their own value, their own relevance in the sport.
Yeah, they got a talent for pissing people off. Now, maybe it's because Mauricio, more than the other 3 sanctioning body presidents, likes to get in front of the camera, likes to monopolize all the attention. He really believes that his belt is the best belt of the 4, but his belt is the one that more fighters are dropping.
You could levy a lot more criticism towards the WBC and the WBA jointly than you could towards the IBF or the WBO. The most that you could say about the IBF is that they're strict when it comes to their mandatories, but that's not really a bad thing.
That just means they're doing their job. Whether you're a high-profile fighter or not, you have to adhere to their mandates or they're gonna strip you. I wouldn't call that a bad thing. Maybe inconvenient, but not bad.
In the WBO, I can't find a negative word to say about the WBO. They're a well-run organization, a well-oiled machine, and for me, they just do things the way that they're supposed to. It's the World Boxing Council.
The WBC and the WBA jointly that ruffle the most feathers. They're the ones that people are most pissed off about. The WBC overstating their value and the WBA flooding the sport with trinket trophies, trinket titles. That's what might actually help the Zuffa belt along, that people already didn't have the greatest relationship with these sanctioning bodies. So that if you can put the Zuffa belt in the hands of what is already a legitimate fighter, somebody who's already interpreted as being world class.
Shit, maybe it's somebody who used to hold sanctioning body titles or somebody who still has one or some. That will help the Zuffa belt along because remember, the Zuffa belt doesn't even come with sanctioning fees.
That's a breath of fresh air.
Because the sport has been so unregulated for so many years, it opened the door for sanctioning body presidents to get all willy-nilly about who's in control, who's in charge of what.
Tell me that Mauricio Suleiman doesn't fancy himself a promoter. He thinks he's a promoter. I think he's in the wrong racket.
Just speaking of promotion, Goldenboy have insisted through a legal filing their willingness to still assist in finalizing Ortiz versus Ennis. Tell me something I don't know.
Of course you want to help. Of course you want to assist, because your broadcast future hinges on not only this fight happening, but you being involved in any way. So, of course, you're willing to assist. You have a lot riding on this.
So does DAZN.
What else has come out is DAZN is looking to force Ortiz versus Ennis for April 18th, whether Goldenboy cooperates or not. The streaming giant is tired of waiting and ready to move forward without Goldenboy's blessing. This is a show that DAZN essentially calls the shots on getting this fight made. But if it were to, theoretically, happen that way, you would still need someone to promote it. Who would promote it?
Matchroom.
DAZN is a platform, not a promoter. You would still need someone to make the posters and stage the press conferences, raise awareness for the fight, wherever it is it's going down, and that would likely be left to Matchroom in a situation where DAZN pulls rank on Goldenboy and does the fight without their blessing. I wonder if they can.
Because this whole dispute is based on whether or not Virgil is still under contract with Goldenboy. If he is, can DAZN just use him all willy-nilly like that?
Maybe.
Virgil Ortiz, who's filed in opposition to the temporary restraining order Goldenboy received to block Ortiz from signing to fight Ennis, according to a copy of the public record reviewed by Sports Illustrated Now, Ortiz is seeking to dissolve the temporary restraining order and deny Goldenboy Promotions further relief. In the legal filing, Ortiz says in December, his manager Rick Merrigan was presented with an offer to fight Ennis and told that if Ortiz did not agree to the fight, that he would be benched and not presented with any other opportunities. Ortiz's team attests that Ortiz's promotional agreement states Ortiz must be presented with 3 potential opponents for any bout, and he was not.
What's the point in that if you're all focused on fighting Boots?
To establish that Goldenboy Promotions did not honor the agreement, and as such, it constitutes a breach that would allow them to walk away, to dissolve the agreement, dissolve the contract where Ortiz would be free to leave. They're trying to say in layman's terms is Goldenboy broke the contract, so the contract is void. The filing says Ortiz was offered a 3-fight deal from Matchroom, which included an April 18th date against Ennis that guaranteed Ortiz $12 million and could have been worth $20 million. Ortiz was also offered a deal by another promoter that would have guaranteed him $16 million, plus upside based on ticket and pay-per-view sales of the bouts.
I know Oscar's got to be punching the air in that condo of his. That Eddie Hearn would have absorbed yet another one of his fighters. When Canelo first left Goldenboy, where did he go? Matchroom.
When Goldenboy Promotions was staging talks to sign Edgar Berlanga, where did he go?
Matchroom.
When Goldenboy was staging talks to try and sign Shakur Stevenson, where did he go?
Matchroom.
And now that Virgil is trying to leave Goldenboy, you see where he's trying to go, and you see who's trying to help him. Because if Eddie Hearn and Matchroom offered him a 3-fight deal, they're trying to take him from you. They're trying to poach your fighter. I don't imagine Oscar is at all happy about that. I wonder if this Thursday he's gonna do another episode of his Clapback Thursday segment. Talk about it.
I don't know if he will while there are still court proceedings.
You see the dollar amounts associated with Virgil's potential departure from Goldenboy. 12 million, 20 million.
16 with somebody else. I don't think for a second he's been making that kind of money on the Goldenboy Promotions side of things. Virgil's been around a while, close to 30 years old. He hasn't fought for a world title yet, and I know he hasn't made that kind of money. Rounds it out, doesn't it? Why is Virgil fighting so hard to get away from Goldenboy? The money he stands to make somewhere else? That would be the reason.
Would seem that all the interested parties, Matchroom, DAZN, and Goldenboy, want to make the Boots Ennis fight. What they're stuck on is the circumstances of the bout. Goldenboy wants to be involved because they need to.
If you're not, and this fight gets made without you, you may lose your broadcast deal, and if you lose that, you're fucked.
Do you see a lot of broadcasters out there in the American boxing space investing money in boxing? It's really down to just two, DAZN and Paramount. Right now, those are the only ones. You're jettisoned, you're fucked.
So of course they want to be involved in the Boots versus Ortiz fight. Their broadcast future hinges on it. DAZN wants to make that fight because of their ultimate tier. You have to justify all these price hikes you've been imposing on your existing subscribers. Why they should have to kick out extra money. To do that, you have to up the ante, you have to make better fights.
That's why they want to make this thing. Matchroom wants to make this thing because they want to get a return on their investment in Jaron Ennis. They likely think that beyond this fight, he will ascend to the next stratosphere.
If he wins.
That, and if they don't make this fight, Boots is going to be hard-pressed for a quality opponent. There are not that many available options. I mean, Sebastian's fighting Keith Thurman. Xander Zayas just fought. I think that would be a difficult fight to negotiate. Josh Kelly is interested in doing other things that if Boots doesn't get Virgil,
He's not at liberty to fight another bum.
all the involved parties want to make this fight, but under different circumstances. What's telling is that DAZN is willing to make this thing without any involvement from Goldenboy. That kind of tells you what they think about Goldenboy, doesn't it?
They don't need you.
But if Virgil and his would-be promoter are currently enthralled in a legal battle over whether or not he still is a Goldenboy Promotions fighter, how can DAZN just up and decide to use him without their blessing? Maybe they have it written into the broadcast deal, written into the contract.
What contract?
The one between DAZN and Goldenboy, that at any given moment, they can pull rank on Goldenboy. They can make a fight with one of their fighters that doesn't involve them. It's probably not something they often exercise, as it would come off as hostile.
Cutting off their balls.
Though being the one providing all the money to these promoters, I would imagine that allows you certain entitlements. When you're the one picking up the tab, if you want extra breadsticks, you have extra breadsticks, extra beer.
Extra.
Read all about it. DAZN may be on the verge of stepping on Goldenboy Promotions' toes and using what's supposed to be their fighter without their permission. Maybe it's because they don't need it.
Things are getting ugly.
Oscar De La Hoya, amidst all of this, did not upload one of his kooky Clapback Thursday segments last Thursday. I wonder if he will this one, or if things gotten far too serious for him to make a joke about it.
We'll see.